Hello and welcome to the BUSR F1 Winter Series. I'm joined here with RW Dragon. Today we are at Zandvoort for round 2 of this championship. I think my webcam is frozen. I'll hopefully we just started.
Well, it's completely lagging out. All right, Alex. Welcome to Zandvoort. I mean, it is cold outside. It's probably cold in the Netherlands, so clearly that's a good reason why the webcam and the internet has completely frozen up on the side of Alex there. But welcome to Zandvoort. It's Mexico. We seem to have somewhat slightly swapped the round 1 and round 2 in a little bit of fashion. Mexico this weekend. It was Mexico last week. It was a great start to the season. And we're hoping for another follow-up in Zandvoort today to continue this season going. Last week, Cameron Sell leads the drivers' standings after winning in Mexico, along with the fastest lap, followed by Joseph Beck on 40, Jacob Hardwick on 35. Going down the list, some quite good drives going on there, and I believe that entire top 3 will also be returning this week. Just giving that a check. I don't think Jacob is joining us this week, actually. So that top 2, Cameron and Joseph, they'll be both wanting to run away with the championship as it stands. Follow up very good Mexico with a very good Zandvoort, and hopefully continue their good run. See, oh, I was about to poke you and ask if you were back, Alex. It looks like
no, this
news.
webcam is not coming back on. Anyway, so last time out in Mexico, it was a bit of a scrappy end to the race for Joe and for Geek. They both had a bit of a clash coming towards the end of it, with both of them losing out on the podium finish there. Carousel taking the win, as he normally does. He is quite a quick driver around most of these circuits, and seems to have this game quite well grasped. Led the previous race by 14 seconds. So definitely a driver to look out for the win. But you never know. We've had it before in where was it? Vegas, where he crashed out on lap 1, and we got to see one of the most interesting and most exhausting races I've ever commentated over. We exhausted our safety car supply in that race, and yeah, hopefully, I haven't seen much of Zandvoort, but hopefully this time around it should be good. I'm still trying to make my webcam work, and it's still not doing anything. It's really annoying me.
Well, I did do a little bit of poking around, asking in the broadcast chat how the previous times around the Zandvoort circuit, how everything's gone in BUSR. Previous 2 times, we've got 2 different winners. Back in summer 2022, Matty Mumu, one of the guys I know from Rocket League, so a little bit of crossover there going. About a 2-second lead for him to win from P1 way back then. The second one, winter 2023, so we're in the same split here. Desan won from P3 on the grid with only a 410.
Hello there.
There we go.
Broadcast back. Do we have broadcast back is the question.
Technical difficulties, guys. It happens every single time. I think last time around we had a bit of a conundrum. But my webcam's back.
Yeah, the webcam's back. That's a good reset. That's a good reset. I think that's a pretty fair trade for the broadcast to go on offline for a moment, and we get the webcam back.
But yeah, so it looks like everything's good now. Hopefully. I do need to buy a new webcam because this one is aging rapidly. I think this one's like 4 or 5 years old now, because I bought this around about the time of lockdown, and it has stood up to the test of time. But we are back. We're here. Hopefully, we're going to get qualifying on the way soon, and the lobby should be set up momentarily. Looks like everybody is currently in the Discord call to. Yeah. Well, we have all the drivers in the Discord call. Well, most of them anyway, just so they're not in each other's way for qualifying. So pretty much what happens is that if nobody can talk to each other or nobody knows what's really going on, you're going to get people impeding. And it's just a pain, really, to sort that out before the start of the race, because it goes straight from qualifying to the race in a couple of minutes. So cross fingers. We're on the way soon. Should be everything set up.
We'll have 18 minutes of qualifying. It's standard in BUSR, then, of course, straight into the race, as you say. So let's take a little look towards qualifying. I'd say 18 minutes. We've got Cameron looking good from last week. Got Geek also looking good. Both of them haven't won at this circuit, at least from what history has taught me, as long as Matty isn't hiding additional results to make him look a little bit better, like he's won only one of 2 races around the Zandvoort track. But at the moment, we're looking at a good set of qualifying times. It was 109 that got Lando Norris pole position at Zandvoort this year. It's a good question for these guys if they can chase down the real world time to get to that pole position as well. Alex, what are you thinking? What do you think is the benchmark time for that pole position around Zandvoort?
Normally, these races run a little bit. These games run a little bit quicker than F1. I'm not really sure how it works on Zandvoort, but from what I do know, and we're probably looking at about 109 again, if not maybe a little bit more, because you do tend to have a little bit more front end grip in these cars than you would in the real thing. Because as much as we like to say that this is that this is sim racing, at the same time, EA have made this a bit of a simcade, but we're here for it. We're enjoying it as well. So it's always good to have it on. So about the 1 minute 10 mark, maybe a little bit less. I really couldn't tell you from the way Cameron or Joe or anyone else around that top end of the pack can drive around this circuit. I haven't really seen much of these guys around here. It is a good track to drive as well. Turn 9-10 complex in sector 2 can get a little bit tricky for some people. It does catch people out because it does flow quite. The radius of the corners do change and they flow quite weirdly. And it can catch people out, especially turn 8 as well. Turn 8 really does catch people out. You do see a lot of people going off there, so it's going to be one of the places to be looking out for. And it looks like we are now underway for qualifying. The first few laps here, people are just going to be taking it a little bit easy, trying to find out where they're going to be placed around. Currently, the first person out is the Alpine of Quick. So some of these people are new, so do bear with me. I do actually also have their full names up on a sheet, so I can also reference that as well.
It seems to be the crux of every single commentator, caster, whatever word you want to use. Every single in-game name in esports will confuse you at some point or another. It's only a very, very few of them will not confuse you. Like, thank goodness there's someone called Alpha. It's James. Oh, thank you guys. Appreciate it. It makes our job a lot easier.
Yeah, Joe just uses his name, so it's always good. Thank you, Joe.
Shout out to Geek as well. Geek is a pretty easy one to go. There seems to have a little bit of racing starters on this track. Want to get to the front of the grid. It's looking rather gloomy around Zandvoort, so quite fitting for this autumnal weather that we are surely all experiencing today. Most likely will tomorrow, but Q1 will start off what could be slightly gloomy conditions. Thank you, Matty, in chat. Oh, a little bit of scouting report. There could be a bit of rain at the end of the race, but it seems like we might have a dry start. At least we'll have a dry start in qualifying.
Yeah, so now I've got Quicks on an outlap on his first lap here, pushing around the Zandvoort track, trying to get as quickly as possible. Just came out of the exit of turn 3, now through the S's of 4, 5, and 6. It's quite a quick and flat up right here. Now turn 7 can be a little bit tricky. You do have to downshift into 6th here, otherwise you do get caught out with a stack of oversteer, and he is taking that line quite nicely through into 7, 8 and 9 there as well, keeping himself quite well planted around about 120 odd kilometers an hour through that complex. You can get a little bit quicker around there if you do have some good tyres prepped and warmed up. It looks like he's got his tyres in a nice little window where he can just push as much as possible, taking quite a nice double apex line. There, some people do try to straighten that out a little bit more, but it does work as well. A little snap of oversteer there, but able to correct it and coming through now to complete his lap. It is quite a short lap, so it does make our lives a little bit easier than commentating something like over Spa. But 1 minute 09 and 1 minute 08. Epic Ender Ender Epic gets breaks into the 1 minute 8 mark. It's going to be quite a bit quicker than you would expect from the real life scenario. 109 from Lando Norris from previously, and is now gone straight into the 108, and it's just been smashed again by Joe. Yes, so we will have some more people coming up through. The next one to come through would be, was a Ferrari, I think. It's James as well coming through. We've got Mad Dog here. Hello, how are you? 1 minute 8 for Mad Dog as well, and it's now a race to see who can get anywhere near to Joe's time. Joe's sitting quite comfortably though. It's about 6/10 off of P2, and Ario's getting 4th there with a 109.2, and Last Gen Nuke goes into the just almost breaks into the 108s there. Everyone's a bit slowing down now, trying to cool their tires down. Maybe some people might go for a bit more fuel, and then go out and then push again, let the tires cool down. Because this track is a bit of a tire eater, however. So maybe we're going to see some people going back into the pits, changing their tires up, all that kind of stuff. Geek in the Mercedes this time round. Last year, I believe he was in the Ferrari, so some good change of pace for him in the black livery car. Really nice, I think, in my opinion. Not many people's favorite big cup of tea. Baby Aggie as well, 110s. Not where you'd see him. He has been up there in the midfield and a little bit higher up sometimes. Baby Aggie can get a podium here and there. So, we will have to see if he can get anywhere close to those kind of times. So somebody going a little bit slowly into out of turn 3, but hopefully he's gotten on his way. It looks like a Alpha Tauri. So it's still an Alpha Tauri running F1 23, guys, because 24 is questionable at best to run. And Geek coming now to complete his final lap, last guy to put up a representative time. And where does he go on the timing sheets? 4th place into the 108s as well. Joe still sitting somewhat comfortably up there, but Cameron Soul, already on his door. It's always this Joe, Cameron, and Willie as well. They're all up there as they normally are. Geek's just a little bit further off. It is just those top 3 right now. Quite a fair margin off of the top 3 that Geek is, counting the fact that 5/10 in qualifying is quite a sizable gap, and it's like people are already still going out after maybe putting on new softs. I'm not really too sure, or maybe they were just slowing down for another push lap. But now we've got last gen out for a push lap now. Going to be encountering maybe some slow traffic, so hopefully he gets out of the way. Actually getting out of the way quite nicely there. I think that looks like to be either Dorsey or Geek getting out of the way, so that's always nice to see from everyone trying to cooperate together and not screw anyone over. Aria now in the Alpha Tauri livery, and that is Woody going up as well. And it's like he's just put in his lap, and it's... Oh no, he just started, sorry. He just started his lap, and also now we've got Cameron Soul. Cameron Soul now, one of our quicker guys around here, always a favourite for pole. Where's he chugging this car?
I think that was a cool down lap. He is actually sitting on top of the timing sheet at the moment.
He is indeed, yes.
He's taken an extra 10th over Joe's time, so clearly it's going to be a dogfight today in between those two, unless we got Josh Woolley coming in with a 108.5. 2/10 need to be shaved off that time, but plenty of time to go in this Q1. Got the track needing to acclimatize a little bit more, maybe a little bit of rubber he's being put down. Not sure how it works actually in the F1 games, especially online.
Yeah, there's a little bit of evolution. Yeah, it's always is. I wouldn't say it's as much as you would find in like a karting track or even the F1, even an actual F1 track, but it definitely does feel a difference after a few runs. So always good to find out where that grip is and where people are laying down that rubber, because the question of high or low line in turn 3 is always a good staple of what people like to do. I prefer doing that low, and I think most people do nowadays, because I think the top line doesn't have as much grip as people would think in real life as it does in real life. But Cameron Soul absolutely demolishing his time. 108 dead. 0-0-0, completely just cleared himself of any threat from Joe. Joe on an outlap now, seeing if he can get anywhere near. Geek now on his push lap, trying to go for anywhere near that time. But Cameron Soul, 108. You've got to respect that. That is a monstrosity of a time right there. And it's like Dorsey going for his outlap as well. Alpha now as well, chipping away at his time. I think he good time in through for Alpha. I think like his last push lap wasn't really much of a push lap, just trying to get a feel for the second. I think he may actually no. I think he was one that spun out actually at one point. So good to see that he's put himself up there in the timing sheets. Mad Dog now also starting his push lap in the Alfa Romeo liveried car. Again, a relic of the past now. Alfa Romeo. Wish to still see them here because I do like their cars. They are the red and black liveried car. It's always quite nice to see.
I do have to say, I think they went out with a bang with that 2023 livery. This one, it is a very nice livery, I have to say. I think very underrated. I'm not against the kick, Sal, but I think I might be one of the few people that doesn't mind the sort of fluoro green that they have.
In the minority, yeah.
Yeah, I think I might be. I don't mind. It's a good combination. It probably looks very nice flashing past with the green. It's Alpha looking to shave a little bit more time. No, actually decides to relax, and this the track had gone red for a moment. I had a moment of thinking, is qualifying called off? Is something gone wrong on the track? No.
It will flash. The track will flash red when a lap time is invalidated. So either that's going off track, or going into the pits like here as well. Does also count as going off track until you reach the start-finish line, because it's also at the same point in the pit lane as it is on the actual circuit. So if everyone diving into the pits now, switching over tyres, they've got 7 minutes left of the session. Lemon track though, on the push lap, it looks like. Where does he go?
There you go, cutting off some time, slowly chasing down the P14, baby Yagi, I think that'll be how you pronounce that. Is going through, just making sure everyone's clear. One more time. No, Ender's starting the next one. Why don't I give this a go? Ender Epic taking turn 1. Leading back round, looking towards turns 2 and 3. Around the corners. Will he take the high line? Looked like the low line. You have a change of perspective. Maybe Yagi actually taking quite a bit of time on up to P10. As
he's definitely got in them. Yeah. Definitely got in him to get up there just a little bit more. Oh, and that's Aston Martin facing the wrong way. That
explains.
Is that Joe? Because Lemon's already gone past that point. So that is indeed Lemon.
No, that's Lemon.
Oh no, okay. I thought that was turn 4. My bad. No, yeah, okay.
Cross. It's safely done though. Safely done.
Yeah. Turn 9 is just that kind of corner. You try. It's a bit touch and go. If you either get it or you don't in that corner. So if you get any kind of oscillations in the car, you're just not really feeling it at that point. It's like everyone is trying to go for either an outlap or switching over their tires. When Ended coming to cross line for his final lap, goes into the 108s. Actually, that's put him into P4. That's a really good lap there from Ender. This is his debut season, I believe. So unless he changes IGN at any point, which would ruffle a few feathers in the commentary box if he commentary box if he did, because I would have no idea who the hell he is. Aria on an outlap, looking to be on a push lap as well, seeing whereabouts he can place himself out through turn 14 there. I'm not going into the bits. These guys seem like they're doing a push lap and then they just abandon it because they are shown a live delta. Joe on an outlap goes straight into the pits. So if they don't think that their time's any good, they're not going to use softs in the race unless they want to do some weird two-stop. But a two-stop would rarely work unless they can really get that pace nailed down. I think Cameron did it once. No, actually, no. I'm thinking of a different scenario. But they've got... So they're not really going to use any of the softs. They may as well just burn through pretty much all of them because you get like 7 or something. Even though it's a single qualifying session. Geek coming through to cross the line into the 108s and usurped Joe from P2, right in the sniffing distance of Cameron Sell. Cameron Sell still 3/10 off of Geek, but you never know. These guys can pull a monster lap out of nowhere, and Cameron Sell is never a surefire position for that pole position slot. Mad Dog now coming through. Turn 1, just cruising through those almost flat out S's anyway. I'd say these ones up here are flat out. They're up the hill, quite nice and flowing. You don't have to think about them too much unless there's a slow car somewhere, as we've seen a few times before. Reminiscing back to yesterday's FP1 session from in Mexico. So if anybody remember that Albon crash and Behrman, that was quite a nasty one. I'm glad that both of them are okay, and just you can't go slow in those S's, otherwise people will get caught out quite easily. Geek on his No, on his not out push lap, going straight into the pits. He's got time. So to be fair, if you've got time, you may as well. Everyone's diving into the pits. Now I've got 3 minutes left of the session. Let's see what happens. And Mad Dog may be actually going to keep his.
No,
is this going to be his final lap? No.
Lap.
He goes straight into the pits. He goes for the push lap, realizes his delta's red, and then goes straight into this. Although actually, that said, he did just do an 8.6. So, or an 8.6, so, and that has put him quite far up. So I feel like he probably shouldn't have stayed out and done like that. But oh well, he knows where to plant his car. Dorsey going a little bit quicker this time round, about a 10th up from his previous sector 2 time. See whereabouts he can put himself now. Down there in P12 right now, 109.2. Maybe put himself up into possibly into the 10th place, and then it goes into the pits as well. These guys.
This is
I need them to have indicators on the back of their car, so if I know if they're going into the pits or if they're staying out on the straight, because this is something else. I'm very confused at some. And I was like, oh, you guys are going for a push that? Nah. All right.
Well,
anyway,
it's like in terms of the last laps, maybe. The last push laps that we're going to see, Ender Epic is going to be starting the first one right now, unless Reese looking to put in the time as he crossed the line. It is a 108.8. Puts into P9. Ender Epic. It seems to be this last gasp rush from everyone. Even Cameron Searle has decided to grace us with his presence on an outlap to go for one more try. Maybe a 107 on the board. He really, really absolutely sends it around this Zandvoort circuit. Lemon Track looking to start off his last lap. Going through turn 1. Out looking towards turn 2 and 3. In quick succession. There's 2. There's 3. Into that one. Going into 4. Looking at the low line there. Seems to be the preferred method. Everyone seems to be agreeing with you. I feel like I'm in... Once again, the minority in trying to take the high line, but I guess this is why I'm not in this BUSR top level lobby, or in fact, either of the lobbies at the moment. As Ender Epic looks like he's agreed with himself that he's not going to get the time. Decides to dive back into the pits. He won't get enough time to do an outlap. Reese Hands on the in lap once again. That's 2 people into the pits. They'll be staying in the pits till the end of the session. Mad Dog, P7 at the moment, will start the outlap. Oh wait, no, ends the outlap. All right, I'm confused by the UI now. Absolutely fooled me there. Mad Dog's still in P7, but again, hooking up a good lap here, taking that low line out in towards that fast section there. Joe taking 6/100ths of a second to try and chase down Josh Woolley, who's just ahead by 1/1000th. Cameron Searle, I don't think he'll be setting that 107 like he might want. Last gen Newt doesn't go faster, stays P6, and that will be the last run of his qualifying day. The 18 minutes almost up, last 10 seconds to try and get past that finish line and start a new lap. And I think Josh Woolley without a front wing, so that's job done for his qualifying. P3 at the moment, unless Joe can find that time.
Front with DRS, maybe working his advantage. Nope. And it looks like everyone is now riding off their laps. Mad Dog in with a 109.1. It's James coming over to cross the line as well, and Baby Yagi going a little bit faster this time round. 108.8. Now pushing himself a little bit further up. I think Joe actually invalidated his lap, and that's why I was going a little bit slowly. So that's his qualifying done with. I'm not sure if Cameron's also done a like comparison as well. Quit's going a little bit slower on that lap, but P12, good result there for him. Lemon Track as well, staying down there in P15 with the rest of the back runners there as well. Dorsey coming up 109.2, just 2/1000ths off of his best time. Joe also coming through, and Cameron Searle as well. Let's see if he can put himself any quicker. No, he cannot. 5/10ths off of his previous time. Last gen Luke going a little bit slower as well, and that is qualifying done. That is Cameron Searle. Who's it? Josh and Joe running at the top 3 for you guys, or was that? Or it could be a little bit.
I think Josh was actually beaten to the punch by Joe. I think we got Cameron, Geek, and Joe in that order to start off the Dutch Grand Prix and then round 2 of BUSR, and it's looking good for them. I mean, I've talked about the previous 2 races that we've had, summer 2022, winter 2023, mostly because it's the only data I have at the moment. Both races were won from the podium during qualifying. P1 by Matty, Desan winning from P3. So it is good signs for those 3. I think it has to be down to Cameron. Can he get the good start? Can he maintain it into turn 1? Can he not crash out like he did at Las Vegas? It's all those questions going into the turn 1 here at Zandvoort. And they'll be answered very soon because we go straight into the race.
Very soon indeed. Just first things first, though. A quick word from Special Effect with our little clip for you right here.
Nobody likes being left out. That's why Special Effect are helping people with physical disabilities to play video games. But this isn't just about having fun. The gaming setups we create are personalised, so people can play to the very best of their abilities. And that opens the door to inclusion and independence, confidence and creativity. Help us level the playing field and create more magical gaming moments. Because it's everyone's turn to play.
A very good cause indeed from our friends over there at Special Effects. And now back to the race. It's going to be quite a lively one, I think. Turn 1's going to be a little bit hectic as turn 1's normally go in F1 series anyway, especially even F1 sim racing as well. Not many people are too clean through there through turn 1, but you never know. Maybe we will hopefully for once see a nice clean race. But that said, we have 6 safety cars to use, I think, through the race. So if anyone does use up, if we do use up the 6 safety cars, then we just won't use them. We just won't have any more safety cars after that. So that'd be good to see. But there normally is at least 1 or 2. I'm not really sure how many there were last race out. So maybe the lobby has gained a little bit more conscience and not decided to crash into people. I think my camera's now broken again.
Camera's gone again.
I swear. No, wait, no. It hasn't on my end. One second, let me just restart that. And then, so it will be quite the exciting round, as it always is for the BUSR. The top 4 contenders normally battling out quite well against each other. And we probably will see them again, the usual suspects up there, just trying to see whatever they can do to get those podium positions. So obviously it is... it's currently, as it stands, it is 50 points for a P1, 40 for P2, 35 for P3, and 30 for P4. Obviously, you do also get a drop round. So your worst result will be dropped from the from your result from your points tally overall. And we are getting underway now. We've got a formation lap just coming up. All the cars going to be lining up on the grid. Running C1, C2, and C3 tyres here because this is a tyre chewer of a map. That turn 1 and turn 3 is going to be absolutely monstrous. Well, as AWS says, it's going to be hopefully a one-stop strategy. It is a 50% race. We've got Cameron starting on the mediums. He does quite like the medium tyres, the C2s anyway. He's quite a big fan of them because he does bring those tyres quite far through the race. Normally getting them to a little bit further up. But now we start the race. And any moment now, we're going to have 5 lights come up on the board. And we will get this race started and underway. Actually, I don't think it does. No, it does now. 5 lights on. And we are off for the start of the BUSR F1 series in Zandvoort. Josh getting a really trying to switch his way through, and Geek and Joe, Cameron, Geek and Joe getting away really well on the start of that race. No contact at all, and everyone's made it through turn 1 alive. Down into turn 1 now. Everyone's trying to file up behind. Mad Dog just having a little sniff on the inside of its James, but everyone's made it through quite well. Mad Dog as well, still on that attack against its James and against Reese now, actually, for that matter. And now James going off the track, trying to go side by side there with Alpha now. It's Baby Yagi, actually, for that matter. Sorry, Baby Yagi. They've got, and Baby Yagi's now taking some damage, I believe, and is now going quite slowly off the track. And that's Mad Dog and Baby Yagi. Both of those two guys are now out the back of this pack. Joe, Geek, Josh, and Cameron all getting a very good start, indeed, and keeping their positions from the start of qualifying. And it's now everyone's going in one by one through the race, through the leg of this race. And let's see how it goes through the main straight. The main straight is quite a good place for overtaking with DRS. It can be quite powerful here as well. DRS trains do form quite regularly, so we will see a bit of a concertina effect. Cameron starts taking up fast as he will, starting from pole position, but it will be usurped very shortly. And that's Joe going around the outside of Geek, just trying to get any kind of space at all. Geek just running him out of room on the inside, and Joe having to back off now. And our Cameron now looking in his mirror, seeing that Geek and Joe are fighting it out. These two guys have been rivals for years now, and they've always had a couple of clashes here and there. And it's going to be quite an interesting battle to see if they can get anywhere past each other. Epic ended on the end of on the end of Josh Worthy, trying to find any kind of space possible behind, just sniffing his way through. The gaps are still quite tight, but that gap to Cameron Salt is alarmingly growing. Now out of the DRS range of Geek, now back into it, now out of it, and now, but it looks like Geek and Joe have kind of screwed their heads on a little bit and said, let's get on with it, let's chase down Cameron for the win, let's see how many points we can take off of him, because that is normally our main rival in this championship.
Good, like you said, good start, good first lap from a lot of people. It seemed like Baby Yagi and Mad Dog just having moments there. I think Baby Yagi took a little bit of grass going to one turn, ends up losing a bit of traction, slipping out a little bit. And Mad Dog, I don't think it's damage, as he hasn't pulled into the pits to get anything replaced or anything changed, unless it's a bit of floor damage. That'd really quite mess you up. Actually, it's one stop. Yes, Mad Dog has pitted, so it was damage on that lap 1. Oh, great start. And he has moved on to the hard, so he's going to have to take that in as far into this race as possible. Now that has to be on a 2-lap strategy. Are you still going to be picking the hards to the mediums now? Does he have the tyres for that? Yeah.
I would say he tries the one stop and just goes as long as possible on those tyres. He was going to try to keep the pace up and just see how long he can take those hard tyres. They will blow out probably, but you never know. Hopefully he can take those right down to the end. Dorsey having quite a good sniff on the back of Alpha though, really trying to see where Alpha goes wrong, because it's always, sometimes racing isn't just about making the overtake; it's making them, forcing them to make a mistake. And as we saw, Dorsey did have a bit of a snap of oversteer and went sideways for a moment, and maybe maybe now it's a time for Alpha to make a mistake and for Dorsey to get past into P11, just on the doorstep of the points of the P10. And what normally wouldn't. Well, every position stores points in this championship, apart from P16, I believe. So actually, no, everyone here will be scoring points today, as we don't have a 16th person into this lobby. Lemon's getting a little bit further behind from the pack. They are starting to split off a little bit though. You got groups of 2, groups of 3 coming up. From P1 to down into P9. It's all kind of one little group there. Everyone's around that DRS range, and some trains are starting to form here and there. Some people are starting to break off and start to develop their own races. But it looks like right now at the front, it's Geek and Joe trying to work together a little bit, because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So maybe Joe and Geek are trying to put their differences aside and work a bit together as we probably should be doing a little bit of reason now, getting alongside It's James there and going for a DRS overtake, and hopefully it should be in front by the point of the breaking point of this corner. Now Dorsey has now gotten past Alpha actually for that matter. Sorry, we didn't pick that one up on stream, and it's now been cleared from Alpha and is now allowed to attack area. It's got a bit of a way to go. Well, about 2/10 away from DRS, and is going to be trying to use as much of his battery points as possible.
Little groups, yeah, absolutely splitting off. Race hands passing It's James. He's going to be looking to close that gap to Ender and Last Gen Ute down. Oh, it's still going up just slightly, just slowly. 1.4 now, the gap between P6 and P7. Ender Epic slowly losing touch with that top 4. As Josh Woolley is still trying to stay in touch with Joe. Just 7/10 the gap. And Cameron Searle, you say the enemy on my enemy is my friend, but the thing is, on this track, it seems like everyone's enemies at the moment. They need to just... But it does seem like Geek and Joe are just sort of saying, all right, yeah, Alex on commentary might have an actual point here. We might need to just relax for a moment. We need to try and catch up to Cameron, who... Honestly, on lap 1, when I saw Geek and Joe fighting, I thought Cameron was going to be licking his lips thinking, oh boy, this is another 50 points coming my way. And with that lovely fastest lap, an extra 2 more for me. Starting off the season perfect by taking both fastest laps and both race wins. Almost untouchable way to begin your season. As it seems like Cameron is going for what seems to be a very, very early tumble down. What has happened there? I completely lost track for a moment there.
He just absolutely spun out there. That is just blown this race absolutely wide open. As Cameron Searle battling it out with his McLaren teammate, still 2 seconds off there. But Rees is now in that touching distance of Cameron Searle. This has not gone his way. I think he did just get a snap of oversteer and then spun out. I wish we had replays in this, because I was trying to look at my other monitor and find out what was going on there, and some other stuff, and all of a sudden we've just seen Cameron Searle absolutely just rocket it down into 6th place. I'm absolutely bemused by this. And now Joe on the attack of Geek now closed that gap right up. He said, well, if Cameron's not in this to win it, I will be. And now Geek is trying to shake Joe off of his tail, but it's not able to do any of it right now. Joe having to go through this complex of corners so just behind him, otherwise it's just going to be absolutely impossible to pass, as you pretty much need the full width of the track, and you won't really try and make an overtake around here. But he will have a handing of DRS down into turn 11. And to hopefully try and make this turn stick. It is quite a slow moving turn 11, around about 110 kilometers an hour, but just still on the back of it, just barely touching the back of Geek. These front wings are made of glass, so if he does touch any part of it, it will pretty much break off immediately. That is one of the main pitfalls of this game, is that you will lose it. But Joe's got a really nice handling of DRS here, going side by side into turn 1, but just able to squeeze his way through and take the lead of this race. But Geek still on the attack. But both of these drivers are absolutely just flooring it right now. Last Gen Newton and Epic and Ender Epic just go side by side through these corners. You don't want to go side by side through there sometimes, because it won't end up very nicely, and you will just collect each other into the barrier. But it looks like they've been able to get through quite well, and that is Last Gen Newton getting his way over there. But the Ender is having none of it, still hunting his way down through there, through the Sector 2 complex of 7, 8, and 9, just trying to find any kind of room, any kind of mistake that Last Gen will probably try and will make through any of these corners. Trying to go around the outside is not where you really want to go, because you just absolutely chop your tires. He's going to get a nice handling of the slipstream and the DRS effect. Maybe he can use some of his deployments and make it work. I mean, you can't find the room. That corner tightens up way too much for any kind of overtake to happen. They've got Cameron Searle still sniffing right behind the gearbox of Ender Epic. That Haskell in a McLaren sandwich right now, not where I'd want to be. But sometimes when you're in front of Cameron Searle, you do have to go a little bit defensive. 3 wide, almost into turn 1. as Cameron Soul gets to there, straight through, with the helping of DRS, and that's him straight into P4 and from P6 through from one corner. That's absolutely amazing from what he's able to do. This recovery drive could see him back up here. Still quite a long race to go. He's still got his distance. He's got a pit strategy to make. So it is
no damage as well.
For. No damage at all.
Well. It was just a spin. There's no front wing missing. Everything's fine. The floor's fine. So a pit stop doesn't have to be made. Doesn't lose that extra 26 seconds. I think Mad Dog found himself behind Lemon Tracks after he had to make that pit stop at the very start of this race. But it looks like there's a fight going on at the top order of things. Joe and Geek for a moment there, just a few hundredths separating them, I believe it. And it looks like it's not going to get any further apart as they're going to take the final turns down to the home straight. Looks like DRS, we fed to Geek, looking to take that outside line, outside path. Joe tries to cover off, does so, managed to generate enough of a gap, and the DRS advantage that Geek had going into that final turn just shut down completely. But just try and do that for another 26 laps, Joe. It's just that simple. That's what F1 racing is. Stop the other people overtaking you. Jobs are good in. But it will be a lot trickier with that strategy later on and making sure you stay consistent this entire race. On staying consistent, Cameron Searle has closed down a 2-second gap down to 1 second and will be closing in on that DRS to Josh Woolley, and does so. It looks like this could be the gap's gonna be closed even more as we enter DRS. It looks like Cameron will be joining that DRS train of, it looks like it's Josh, Cameron, Ender, Geek and Joe not far up the road from it. It looks like we are generating that top pack in from 1 to 6. Seems to be generating a little bit of a DRS train, and slowly but surely I think we're finding ourselves in this race, finding standings. Cameron Searle will not be happy with the situation he's found himself in, and will be continuing to chase down that top 2 as well as Josh Woolley in front.
That said, from what I could see from Cameron's onboard, I think on the steering wheel you could see his battery level there, and it did seem to be quite low. Yeah, exactly. He has used up quite a fair bit of his battery already through these laps. So it is quite battery management through this game is incredibly powerful. If you use it at the right, if you use that overtake button at the right times, it can give you massive advantages. But when you have already used that much of it so early on, you have to be confident in yourself to defend like a lion, as Fernando would say.
Believe wrong track to be using that reference.
But that said, the point still stands. Cameron Searle has got to be he's got to be putting on quite a show to be able to get anywhere within first when it comes over to lap 36. Otherwise, he's just not going to be able to have any shot of a chance at the top here. Josh Woolley going very defensive indeed, going straight into the inside, straight onto the middle of the track, trying to make himself incredibly wide, but Cameron still taking the outside line, able to stick it out, using that camber on the outside to his advantage, and taking his way up into the podium positions already after spinning out just only 3 laps ago, it seems. Made his way up beautifully indeed.
Slight snap of oversteer as he exited, but still managed to keep Josh Woolley out of the way. And from having a pack of the top 6, seems like a lot of people have been using that battery to try and get a little bit of a gap, and all of a sudden it's only the top 4 up there fighting for that P1. But even then, Joe, he must be burning battery, Joe. He's generated another about 4/10 of a lead over his opponents, and it looks like he has. To make sure. Oh wait, no, it's quite high battery still. Joe still managing to get away. It must just be the almighty consistency over Geek.
Yeah, Joe does have quite a knack for staying with it, staying calm and not not taking any rash decisions or burning through his tires as he might through. And Cameron Searle already taking up Geek on the opportunity. Geek just leaving the door absolutely wide open, and Cameron Searle just being able to glide through and is now straight into the contention for P1 once again. Cameron Searle just edging his way around up the top, up almost at the top line of turn 3, trying to find any kind of mistake that Joe might make or any kind of vulnerability in his racing, and it's just going to be a smooth sailing from here onwards for Cameron. So it looks like he's just going to be harvesting that battery that flashed out in the back of his car, trying to harvest as much battery as possible from himself. But I think Joe's on the attack now. Joe's going to be absolutely quaking in his cockpit, right, in his virtual cockpit right now, just seeing the back of that car in view after being down into 6th, or probably out of his field of view from just a couple laps ago now. Cameron Searle looks to be in a prime position here to take that DRS and overtake effect to his fullest advantage on the straight. Joe's going to be having to break that slipstream effect and try to have any kind of shot with defending his first position, but Cameron is closing down the rate of knots now side by side through into turn 1 and the braking. But Joe getting right on the back of Cameron there, almost collecting himself straight into there. If he didn't back off a little bit, he would have both of those cars would be pretty much out of the race, and maybe with a penalty at the very least. But Joe now probably just a little bit angry with himself that he's not able to make that pass. But it does seem that Cameron's probably burnt a lot of that battery trying to get his way into P1, as I'm going to be defending as much as possible. Cameron now 8%. On 8% battery. You don't want to see that at lap 14. Obviously, you do recharge a bit when you do go into the pits, but it won't be as much as he would hope. And now Joe's going to be strategizing as much as possible, thinking where can he use this deployment to his fullest advantages. The exits before long straights are normally the best place to use it. Try to get as much acceleration as possible. At the same time, you can use it through the exits of like turn 12, turn 4, turn 13 as well, and even turn 1 for that matter. You just need a good point to accelerate from, and you can get right up there in the back of Cameron Searle. Cameron Searle will not be using as much deployment as he would like to. If he does get down to 0%, he will be in with a mare of a task for himself to defend from Joe. Joe already closing down on that gap from Cameron Searle. It's just going to be a concertina effect, and like a slinky pretty much going back and forth. These two will be going. Joe will be using his
a bit of a counterpoint in terms of battery. What about tyres? Joe is on the hards, Cameron is on the mediums. You said at the start of this race, Cameron likes the mediums, enjoys them, but we're getting very close to that sort of pitting lap for Cameron on the mediums. Joe has an extra maybe 5, maybe 10 laps over Joe on the hards if he is going to absolutely tire whisperer his way through this. As we do have another pit, Lemon Tracks going out in 15th, putting on the hards. And we are starting to get to that point, exactly as I said. Lap 17 was the AWS suggestion for the medium tire strategy. We're getting close to that point where Cameron might start thinking that maybe burning all that battery early on just to get back to P1 might have been a questionable decision when Joe's got full battery, the hard tires, which will be coming into season very soon over the mediums. This race is, I would say, it's still wide open for Joe.
Without a doubt, yeah. It's going to be, Cameron Searle's going to be absolutely chewed through this tires. We've got a yellow flag in sector 1 there. We've got, I think that's last gen Newt just off on, spun out just before the turn 2. Yeah, facing the other direction. You can't park there, sir. Now I'm going to be rejoining the track and around P14. Oh, Alpha just getting a little bit not liking where, and Quicks as well, not liking where Newt rejoined the track and probably just hampering their race a little bit. But yeah, as you were saying, Cameron in that place now, he's not. His tires are probably cooked. Joe's are probably in a nice window. Joe's got a lot more battery, and Cameron's got the square root of anything. So Cameron's going to be looking to pit very soon, without a doubt. He's within that pit window, and he has no other option really. Otherwise, he's just going to ruin his race and let Joe get away with it. Because what will happen is that Joe will go for the overcut, and he will just put on some storming laps until Cameron comes out and catches back up to the back of him. If that can happen, because again, it is one thing to catch up one time. It's another thing to catch up another time, because people will be defending like it's nothing. to hold on to any kind of position. But at the same time, you know, if you've got Cameron Searle in your mirrors and you're down in, you know, if you're down, you know, about P10 area, you probably don't want to see him in your mirrors, and you probably just let him go because that's not your race. Your race isn't with Cameron. Your race is with the Williams, with the with everyone around that area, because you don't want to be fighting people that are just going to be chewing your tires up, and you know that they're going to pass you eventually. So it's always best.
Still important points, especially down the order. We said 15 players get points in these races. We have all 15 spots filled. So, in a way, just don't let this be a drop round. Go as high as you can, stay as high as you can in this pecking order that we have developing. So these two still continuing to battle. I believe that's Quixotical and Alpha in the P9 and P10 spots. Usually in F1, they're fighting out for just that one extra point over your opponents, but this time it's quite a few more as Cameron finally, there we go, as we said, the medium tyres finally burning up a little bit. Time to get some fresh rubber on and actually try and chase down Joe.
He's shots on a pair of hards, on a set of hards, so he's going for that one stop, as most people will be now. Everyone is now throwing themselves onto those hard tyres, but you know, Joe, Arias, James has all gone for the alternative strategy. Not really one that you would expect, obviously, because your race start is, well, god awful. You don't have much grip out on the first out from the line, but obviously with now the introduction of the formation that we didn't have last year, it is now going to be a little bit easier for your tyres to warm up. But that said, Cameron Searle, was that a wheel disconnect? I think that was, because he just didn't turn his steering wheel. There
wasn't any cloud, there wasn't any plume of smoke behind suggesting a lockup. That has to be a disconnect.
Yeah, I think maybe that initial blunder was actually a wheel disconnect, because he didn't have any steering input. He just looked like he just went straight on. So I think that Cameron's got a little bit of a issue there with his hardware. So hopefully he gets that rectified for most likely the next race. Probably going to have to live with it for the rest of this race, but it's like he's going to be taking on Willie quite well, and DRS threw it into turn one. Quite an easy one, but Willie just barely holding on to the gearbox of Cameron Searle there, trying to make sure that he doesn't get away so easily this time round. He knows what Cameron's capable of, but he wants to be within that DRS, because if he can break away from Geek, that gives Josh a perfect opportunity to get up there, maybe take a podium out of Joe or Geek for Aria for that matter. Everyone's in it to win it at this point, really. Oh, Lemon's also retired from the session. Safety car has been deployed as from that, because the rules do state. Wait, Joe, Aria, James will get a free pit stop. Look at where Joe is right now on the track. He's got the perfect opportunity to dive into the pits.
He is loving life at the moment.
A perfect 16 laps on the medium compound tyres. That is worked incredibly perfectly for Joe, actually, for that matter. That kind of feels like a Singapore-esque situation, I can't lie. Crashgate. But that said, you know, you
have a little bit of complexity flying in. I mean, Matty has informed us in chat. Our local weatherman here in Zandvoort has said that there is a possibility of rain just a few laps away. So even then, I think Joe, he's kept his spot in P1. Under this safety car, Cameron is going to catch up. So without that safety car, I think Joe might have run away with it. With this safety car, everything just closes up. With rain, everything sort of resets in terms of the order. Joe will still have to deal with Cameron on this restart, as well as having to, I would say, stay in the lead until this possible rain arrives. If it doesn't arrive, and it's just a probability, it is looking very gloomy on the track right now. So rain might be arriving soon.
Hopefully, we'll get a little bit of a drizzle. But yeah, Lemon not actually DNFing in the right place if that was an intentional disconnect. If it wasn't, then everything is all good. But the rules do state that if you are going to disconnect for whatever reason, you do have to do it in the pit lane, so you don't cause a safety car, because this happens, and we get something that does interrupt the race. Obviously, it does make it a little bit more interesting, but what can you do? We now do get Cameron sniffing on the back of Joe. Joe maintaining his P1 position on a tyre offset. Who's that just dived into the pits there? Couldn't really see that unless they actually didn't dive into the pits. Sorry, could be mistaken. I think I am actually mistaken. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. So now I'm going to be trailing the safety car until the likes of Mad Dog and Alpha catch up to the back. It won't resume until that happens, so we will be going around at this pace, but Alpha and Mad Dog will be told to go at normal racing pace until they catch up to the back, so all is good. So hopefully we can get this race underway very, very quickly. People looking maybe to do a bit of a Max Verstappen and go side by side before the safety car goes off. It's always a good bit of fun to see when you're trying to get a little bit adventurous from that restart and trying to take a bit of an advantage. Joe out in the lead right now. Cameron Sell trailing him. Josh Willie, Geek, Ender Epic, Aria, Reese Hand. It's James, Dorsey, Last Gen Nuke Quicks, Baby Yagi, Alpha, and Mad Dog all completing the order right now. Mad Dog having a bit of a quiet race. Not really seen much of him so far. He is sometimes up there with the rest of them. Safety car in this lap. Everyone's now caught up to the back of them. So the race order now will be for Joe to run at his own pace and dictate how he starts this race as he sees fit. Maybe he goes a little bit early, but you got to keep the revs high. You got to keep your gears low. You got to make sure that whatever happens, you don't overtake before you cross that start finish line. So it's going to be a matter of trying to. Is that a spot of rain I see on the camera of Cameron Sell?
Oh, here we go.
Is that a spot of rain? Are people going to start diving into the pit straight away? Oh no, indeed. This could be a matter of, do you stay out or do you pit? Nobody's gone straight into the pits. It's going to be a full restart on the slick tires.
Too close. It might be everyone too close to each other as we have early fireworks going into turn one as the top order. Geek getting past, I think, Josh Woolley and Aria as the two Alpha Tauris fighting on this restart. I think you're going too early if you come in for rain this lap. I think if people are still catching up to the safety car during that sort of last lap in, I
think that might be a little bit of rain. Not really sure what happened there, but like maybe he just caught a bit of oversteer. I wasn't really paying attention, but it looked like he's now...
Maybe oversteer, maybe the curbs. I mean, we have been called melons by Dasher in chat because the disconnect that we thought happened to Cameron was actually most likely just the curbs. So that might be happening again. For
reference, I have about 20 hours in F1 23, so I actually have no idea what's going on in terms of the actual game mechanics. But it looks like it's going to be. It is raining quite hard now, so people are going to be thinking about pitting. Joe being able to lead Cameron Sell. Nobody's actually going into the pits, so it looks like everyone's trying to stay out as long as possible. I think the consensus is go out until you spin out, and if you do spin out, then you pit. But it looks like everyone's going for that. But it's James has taken quite a bit of Baby Yagi, taking a call and diving straight into the pits for
Cameron's gone. Cameron's crashed into a wall.
Oh dear.
So it seems like the Lance Stroll school of strategy in the rain is not happening for Cameron Sell, as the go out until you spin out has caused Cameron Sell to crash out of the race in a wall. I think that was just after turn one, so we get another safety car out of, well, the 6 possible that we could have. We've had 2 of them now.
One safety car precedes the next. It's safety cars breed safety cars, as they say. I think
once again, that is music to Joe's ears. He's managed to keep the lead. He hasn't crashed out. We have a safety car in what is definitely, at least Inter's conditions. There's no question about it. So I think we're going to see pretty much everyone dive into the pits. And I feel bad for everyone who has a teammate that they have to deal with. It's James and Josh Woolley. Baby Aggie, I should say, and Josh Woolley, both of them having teammates ahead of them. Alpha as well. But it's going to be a tricky time for them.
For that said, though, Baby Aggie pitted for the intermediate tyres before the safety car was called out.
That's true, actually.
So we could see him take the lead if he gets around. I don't think he will, actually, for that matter. It's like Joe's going to be straight out.
17-second gap is not going to be enough.
Yeah, you need to be pretty much at the pit entry at this point. But it looks like everyone's going to be getting on quite well. Baby Aggie has pretty much had his tyres, his gap nullified from that safety car. So that's always good to see. That now, look, he's up into 7th already. But from 12th, I'm not really sure what's going to be happening now. It's like is Alpha staying? Did Alpha stay out, or am I a moron?
I think Alpha might have been one of the ones that pit early.
Yeah, no, he did stay.
Alpha is staying out for 4 laps. I thought for a moment I saw green, but that must have been the safety car mixing with the blue of the Williams that is currently leading. Joe, Aria, Geek, Ender Epic, Last Gen Mute, Baby Aggie, Josh Woolley, Mad Dog, Dorsey, Reese Hands, Quicks, and It's James. It's James still on the mediums, showing a lot of confidence.
For mediums, or am I going insane? Sometimes I feel like I'm not receiving all the information.
It's 0 laps, so he must have pit. Yeah, he must have pit for the mediums. So that's either a glitch. I know in this game that sometimes it can revert to an older selection, so it might have stayed on his old strategy.
He does seem to have stayed on the mediums because he's not really going very fast in the corners, I must admit. But they've got to wait for James to catch up. So
Alpha and James showing a lot of confidence that there is actually Alpha's come in, so he's not showing confidence, but initially they showed a lot of confidence that they thought this track could definitely dry up in the next 11 laps of racing.
There's no chance that would happen.
And James is actually James is very confident that it's going to dry up in the next 10 or so laps, and he's going to put an absolutely thundering set of laps to end the race to, of course, finish P1. So we'll see how this plays out for him on the medium tyres.
I feel like I'm going insane. I feel like he actually is on Inters. I feel like I'm going insane, but obviously it looks like on the actual thing he is. No, it is on mediums.
But like medium tyres.
But like he's not. He doesn't look like he's driving on mediums unless Alpha just overtakes him. Oh no,
Alpha just.
Okay, no, but he's holding his own. That's what I'm thinking. It looks like he's on. It looks like he's on Inters, but I feel like I'm just going insane.
He's managed to catch up. You might be right, and maybe there is a very hidden glitch in this game that he is actually on Inters, but we just can't see it.
Yeah, he's driving. No. Well, let's see when we get onto racing pace, because I feel
which
like
will be very soon. Safety car in this lap.
Indeed, safety car is coming in, but I feel like I feel like if It's James doesn't spin out or gets overtaken for that matter, at the very least, then I feel like he actually.
Dorsey and Mad Dog.
Yeah, we've got a couple of penalties. Ender Epic got one for track limits. Baby Aggie, I think, got one for speeding in the pit lane, I saw. And Dorsey's just collected up one for a severe collision. Looks like they're doing all right. Aria's doing the Max Verstappen, trying to keep Joe at bay here on the safety car restart. But Joe dictates the restart, and he has gone and left Aria behind just a little bit. Aria's just looks like he's actually gotten a bit of a better launch here, and has been able to take up a bit of a lead, and now going into turn 1 side by side, just rubbing tyres together, and now Aria's just taking the lead from Joe, and Joe's been left hanging like fresh meat from that safety car restart. And now Geek on the back of Joe as well, and Ender Epic just sniffing around with the back. Ender Epic putting on a really good performance here for his first first season in the BUSR.
Yeah, he's stuck around at the top order.
Very strong, yeah.
Good qualifying. I believe it was P5 after qualifying. The crash out from Cameron Sell has opened the door for him to gain a position at least. And now he's holding off last gen Ute quite well. This lap has Baby Yagi going a little bit wide into that corner. Still somehow managed to keep the position, at least for a moment. Mad Dog trying to fly through, does so, and it looks like Mad Dog might hold that going to the next set of corners into this hairpin and chicane combination. And yes, Mad Dog just getting the foot down, getting the power on, and will get up into place. And as Aria still leads from Joe, no DRS help. It's all about the slipstream in the wets. As Joe going down the inside, will he manage to take the lead into P1? Yes, just about as tires come together. And Joe holding off Aria at the moment, going to turns 2 and 3. Good stuff from Joe to take the lead again.
Who spun out there? I think that was It's James there, actually, just going... No, it wasn't It's James, actually. He's still out on his yellow tyres. Yes, he is. He's going into the pits now. Thank you. Dorsey, I think, actually spun. James got a penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Not a very good race for him. Rees battling his Williams teammate of Alpha through the complexes of Sector 2 and trying to get away with anything. Reed's just barely going around the inside, and these two are swapping places like it's nobody's business. Alpha Reeds, and it's now hopefully it's just has to land a little bit after a little debacle, because you don't really want to be going side by side through any of these fast corners, especially in the wet, because you will find yourself in a wall most likely. Geek, Aria, Joe's pulling out a bit of a lead from the rest, trying to keep whatever he can intact, and using the recharged battery from the safety car to his full advantage. He's probably, all of them without a doubt, got almost full batteries. Geek going on the offensive, Aria having to defend just a little bit, not really making that stick, but Geek just being able to match Aria speed here, almost clipping the inside of that AlphaTauri, and no.
Oh dear, we have a crash game. We have a crash producer.
So
we've seen 2 crashes at least on stream today. One from Cameron, and now the other from our producer and observer
and my camera.
And the camera. Oh, 3. Oh, we're really piling that up at the moment. So, it looks like the stream might just be a racing incident, so no penalty will be handed out to our producer.
No, for that matter, I will. Does anyone have any of the streams for any of the guys? Because I know they normally stream on Twitch.
I think we had Josh streaming his, and he is still sticking around P5.
I've got.
Actually, I think he's dropped down one. Ender Epic actually making an overtake, and is now challenging for the top 3.
Okay. I've got Woolly's stream up right now.
I have it as well. We are casting up the same stream. We are synced up, and they are 3 wide at the moment. As Geek was in P2, Ari is back into P2 now. Joe is enjoying life at the moment, and he's making a breakaway, trying to keep that lead going. I'm not sure how much he actually needs to try at the moment, as it looks like from P2 to 5 is just an absolute dogfight at the moment. As we are back, absolutely. As a Geek wasn't P2 at the start of this lap, will be fighting Aria once again. But look at that, it's a 3-second gap. Joe absolutely loving the look of this race once again. The wet conditions are going to be tricky in these last 5, 6, 7 laps. Almost couldn't do maths there for a moment. But as long as, once again, stays consistent, Joe should win this race around Zandvoort.
Yeah, these the wet weather models in this game do seem to favour the controller sometimes, it looks like. And that is a Ferrari of Baby Yagi just going off into the gravel there and just losing a couple of places out. I'm not sure if that was contact or if that was a bit of a skill issue. Looked to be just going a little bit scrappy there for the for that wooden spoon position. As now Arya and Geek going a little bit toe to toe, just trying to find whatever points they can salvage from this. It is a 5-point difference from P2 to P3, if I remember correctly. Let me put that up real quick. There is a 5-point difference, 35 to 40 points. So they are scrapping over vital points in this championship, as they always will be. Quicks and Baby Yagi and Dorsey all fighting over those final points, finishing points positions. Trying to see what they can do. Obviously, with Cameron and Lemon out, the lowest you can get as P13 will be 3 points. So always good to have a couple extra points in the bag and obviously you've got drop rounds coming with that as well in this 8-race championship. Looking quite well for the leading pack here. There is quite a bit of a gap between Ender and Reese, so looks like some people are taking to this like a duck on water. So always good to see people really finding their groove in the wet here. But Joe finding a bit more of a groove than the rest of them, I might have to say, with a 5-second lead here. Arya and Geek really scrapping it out of these two. These two really trying to find any bit of grip they can find through that first one. Really the only place realistically where these two can try and overtake each other with that long straight, and DRS to his advantage. Last Gen Newt just losing a couple of places, taking that high line, I think was forced to run wide a little bit. Obviously not off track, but had to get out of the way a little bit, and is now into P4 and settling down with Arya on the back of Arya, sniffing around that last podium position. Last Gen really making a name for himself here in these wet weather conditions. Wasn't really there when it was dry, but now has really come into his own against Arya. Arya and Geek now falling apart a little bit, having a bit of a separation now as now Arya's got to go on the defensive, as he's got Newt and Josh, for that matter, on there's 5 of these cars all packed up together and trying to fight for this final podium position. I think this is where the race really is right now. The top two seem to be storming away with it, but it looks like the final podium position is really where it all matters here. Mad Dog trying to get Josh trying to get around the inside of Newt, but not really making it work. But Newt just getting a little bit more power on than Arya, trying to find a way round the outside and taking that position. Oh, and that is contact from Newt and and Arya and Josh, and everyone's just connected each other. That is not what you want to see. I don't think that is any fault of Ender at all, but I think that is just from what that looked like there, that just looked like Newt's fault. Just getting a little bit too overly zealous and touching the back of Arya and losing out massively there. Ender now out of the race. Not what you want to see from Ender. Probably just collected at the end of that. That pack was too tight for its own good. It was too many people just squished about and forced to. One simple mistake like that can ruin the race of almost everyone there. There's probably there's a few broken. I saw some broken wings about. I think that was mostly just Enders there. So hopefully,
I think it's going to be floor damage. I think I'm most likely going to be floor damage for the rest involved in that collision. I feel bad for Arya leading the race at one point just after the safety car came in. And now I think floor damage might have scuppered the chances of any podium positions. I tell you what, Mad Dog has had quite a roller coaster of the day.
Yeah, he has actually. Yeah.
Started lap 1, spun out, had to go and dive into the pits early on, came out in the last position, and then 2 safety cars followed by rain has led him back into a podium position as we have a fight once again. Last Gen Newt has definitely not learned any lessons and decides that every point on the track is an overtaking position, as it's going to be a fight between him and Alpha as the tyres touch. And almost for a moment I thought we were going to see yet another spin out with the last few laps remaining. Points just slipping away, and maybe that drop round also being used up by Last Gen Newt in that position, as Alpha I think, can't remember if he gets through or holds his position, but either way, survives for a moment against Last Gen Newt. But Last Gen will be back again as we go back to that corner. The question of high or low, I think Last Gen Newt has decided that both are optimal in terms of overtaking it, and will absolutely dive in to try and overtake for both. As they'll be taking that last turn together down to the home straight. Last Gen Newt will be using that slipstream advantage that comes with being just behind your opponent. Can he make that dive bomb into turn 1? No, just decides to chill, just waits a moment and holds off. As we move into the lap 34, Joe, that lead is just slowly being torn apart by Geek. Slowly but surely it's coming down. It was at 5 seconds before. It's dropped down to 3. It's just a matter of, can Geek get up to him with the last 2-3 laps? I'm thinking no, but Joe really needs to just stay where he is and stay consistent as Alpha and Last Gen Newt once again
really
having a
getting on the
dogfight.
inside. That is not where you want to be placing your car sometimes. I thought that Newt was about to collect collect Alpha there as well, and it just looked like he was just about to go into the inside, but it looks like he's just able to get away just a little bit more and be in a bit of a safer point. I think he's just carrying, he's carrying the speed, but he's collecting people in front of him. But that's racing. Obviously, that will be looked at by the stewards tomorrow, I believe, and penalties and such will be dished out as see fit. DRS enabled though, so
not sure how much that is going to do. I think it's going to be the biggest thing it'll affect is this fight right now. I think DRS is only enabled between these two unless Dorsey gets within DRS. That penalty is going to be a little bit tricky to get rid of. But Dorsey is in there. Dorsey is within DRS range, so it might be able to be used. We might see something interesting happen, but I'd say with what we've seen with Last Gen Newt, it does have the lead, but there might be a few more cars that go out and slip out during these last few laps. But what has gone unnoticed as well, I'll be honest, Josh Woolley is also pulled within a DRS range of Aria. So that is another fight that we'll be seeing. But this three-way matchup for P7 is really the one that is going to be entertaining for the last few laps.
Really thought it was going to be P3, I must admit, but things happen. But it looks like these three here really will be trying to scrap together any kind of final positions here. Joe, now on his final lap, he's just lapped the likes of It's James, so that will be that would have been a blue flagged wave, but he's now going to be free to move as much as he wants. I don't think It's James is really going to be trying to fight that. I hope not, anyway. And it will be a straight run for the checkered flag for Joe. As long as he keeps it on the track, he will be smooth sailing to P1. But it looks like Jesus, my voice. I really need to get some water. Dorsey, Aria, and Josh, the AlphaTauri teammates, seem to be really scrapping it out right now, trying to find any kind of position, any kind of fault in their game right now. Going through that kind of never-ending, it feels like, turn 10 onto that second DRS straight off the track now into the braking zone of turn 11. Also, them going to be starting their final lap, and it's now Joe crossing the finish line, and that is a beautiful drive from Joe. Maybe a little bit of luck on the side of Cameron Sell's DNF, but that is a well earned P1 from Joe in the wet conditions, surviving that initial safety car restart against, was it Aria, I believe, and now coming through to make it his own race. Dorsey's hit with a 5-second time penalty for not serving a penalty, so I believe, and Baby Aggie as well, so I believe that was a unserved DT, or the fact that now you have to serve them in the pits. I'm not really sure what happened there, but that is Joe, Geek, and Mad Dog rounding out the top three. Mad Dog coming up with quite a quiet drive, really coming into his own in the wet as well, same with Joe and Geek. I must have to admit, though, it is good to see how Mad Dog has recovered his drive from starting pretty much plumb last in the first couple, or being plumb last at the first couple of laps, and then driving his way up to P3. What a roller coaster of a race that was. Hard to keep track of sometimes because people going up and down. Everyone was, offset pit strategies, and then the rain came through, and the safety cars, the virtual safety car, and people crashing out and everything, and that was just going to different places. Alpha getting the virtual driver of the day. I believe that's just counted by the number of overtakes you do. So, but with that said, what would you consider to be your driver of the day?
I think it's difficult to get past Mad Dog. Just staying calm through every single situation that was thrown in front of him. I mean, spin out on lap 1, and then just suddenly managed to getting up into P3. The crash happening right in front of him. It's been a weird drive, but you know what? You need to stay calm in those situations. Just relax and keep driving. I said it halfway through the race. Just make sure you're consistent in these situations and make sure you finish the race. Mad Dog did so. Just relaxed, got to the end, job done, P3. But I think the more realistic one is probably going to be the man who won the race up there in Joe. Played the safety cars perfectly, had to win it back from Aria after losing that lead, and then pulled out a good 4-5 second gap and ran away with it towards the end. So I think Joe's the realistic choice, but I'm going to give props to Mad Dog here.
Yeah, I think Mad Dog does have did have quite a quiet but a very consistent and well-rounded race. He had that he still had the pace to ward off anything, but at the same time he did have quite a nice string of results there for the for him to finish on the podium positions. That said, Cameron Stoll getting a little bit unlucky there as well. I think it was a spin. We'll have to see what the replays are. There's my camera gone? Okay, thank you, team. I will have to see what happened there. I'm not really too sure what happened myself. And yeah, it didn't seem like it was Cameron's day. I think he got maybe he just got caught up by the rain a little bit, but at the same time, but at the same time, everyone else around them drove perfectly. Everyone was able to keep it on track and keep it clean as well was the main part. And nobody was really going at trying to get each other's throats until right at the end there with Newt getting a bit too aggressive on that last few laps. But wet conditions, maybe the stewards will look favourably in the wet conditions and maybe not hand out too harsh a penalty or any penalty at all if it does seem as a racing incident. From our point of view, though, it did seem that we will be seeing a penalty come his way from our point of view anyway, from it looks like.
I mean, fact of the matter, we don't have every single angle. I believe the stewards will get a few more. It genuinely could just be a bit of a racing incident. It could have been a little bit of a mad dive bomb from Newt to try and get that position. We'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see and see what the stewards think about the incident. I think, especially from my point of view, our camera angle was from the outside of that entire complex, that entire cambered section, so we couldn't exactly see the other side where I believe Newt was making the challenge up the inside. So we'll have to see sort of, did he have enough space? Was it a safe move to make? Or was it genuinely just a racing incident of two cars just getting slightly caught together and nothing needs to be done? But in a moment, we should have an interview with the top 3 drivers for today.
Very soon. But yeah,
very soon. It looks like everyone's in the interview room for a moment. But Alex, you've asked me for my driver of the day. I'm giving props to Mad Dog. Who do you think your driver of the day is, though, after watching that Zandvoort race?
I'm a bit biased because
I see the name. I see the university at the name.
One of my drivers did just win. And so obviously I do have to give props to Joe because he did drive very well in the wet. So I would have to say probably for Joe because I'm a bit biased, but putting that out there, okay. I'm not going to hide. I'm not going to hide in shame and say, but he did have a very strong drive. Cameron also had a very strong drive at the start. He did get away quite well, but obviously again he did make it did seem to be a couple of mistakes made. Whether that can be down to entirely him is another thing because he does drive very consistently. So we will have to see later on if it does pan out that way. Next round, though, into Lagos. We do have a sprint coming up. That's going to be quite interesting because Interlagos is known for being quite wet. So maybe we'll see something again like that. And yeah, so it will be quite fun to see. It's going to be a sprint race. So we are on old rules for the sprint race. So 2022 rules. So the result from the sprint will just dictate the result for the grid for the race. So it'll always be a good little bit extra racing for us to do. I don't know why we just don't do 75% races really, because that's pretty much the exact same distance, but that's beyond me. I'm just here to shout at people and shout at the screen. So anyway, it looks like we'll be on for interviews now. Starting off with our P3 man, our P3 finisher of Mad Dog. If we can get him in right here. Hello.
Hello.
P3. Congratulations.
That was unexpected.
Came out of nowhere. Yeah. I have to admit, what was your perspective on that whole kerfuffle?
Whole series of events.
Yeah.
Let's go all the way back. Let's just hold on a moment. Lap 1.
Yes.
Was it a spin? Was it a
turn 1? There was a car right ahead of me. There was a car right behind me. I just misjudged the braking, and got half my rear front wing broken. And so then after that you go for a high speed series of corners. You're just holding people up. I just went to the side after a while, let everyone through. Appeared lap 1 for damage. First half of the race, I was just sort of sat there praying for something to happen. Then things happened quite quickly.
So that's one kerfuffle sorted out. That's one kerfuffle understood and understood. Let's go to, I think it was lap 29 or so, lap 29, 30, where you're stuck behind, you're watching the few fights go on up ahead, you're thinking, oh, this could be good for me. Turns out it was quite good for you.
It really was.
What did you sort of see up ahead, did you think?
I saw that the car in the lead had bolted on the minimap. They were nowhere near. And everyone, second to like sixth, were all within about 5 tenths. Like, it was utter carnage. I remember saying, I think it was about 5 seconds before it happened, these guys are racing too close, something's going to happen. Then immediately a car gets tipped round. And I'm luckily the car who's furthest enough back to be able to avoid them all, go to the side. And after that, I'm suddenly third.
Yeah, it was quite unfortunate to see who was it again? Epic just getting taken out there. Everyone else
nothing he could have done.
Going for a bit of a spin around the track as well. At the same time, but you did profit off of it quite spectacularly, I must admit. That was but then you were able to hold off everything else as well after that. Obviously the VSC came out, but you had a 2-second gap to Aria at the end of it, just about.
That's how it stayed before they started fighting on the final lap, which I heard got a bit spicy.
Yeah, they did start fighting a little bit. And nothing too much came of it, to be fair.
I think Josh managed to get through past Aria. Last lap overtake against a teammate. But I think Mad Dog, congratulations are in order. It was a roller coaster of a race. You managed to get through it. P3 on track in Zandvoort. Congratulations, mate.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think next up we'll be talking to our P2 finisher, Geek. Managed to hold off the challengers well, hold off the challenge of Mad Dog. Had a 6 second, well, a 6 second gap, yeah, over Mad Dog at the end. Let's get Geek on in for a conversation. Geek, welcome.
Hello.
P2 at the end. Are you frustrated by that result? The rain brought a lot of chaos towards the end, but still P2, still good points.
I'll be brutally honest. I'm going to have to restrain myself from speaking my mind. No, the rain was actually really fun. Like, I fully enjoy driving in the wet as well as the dry. This is probably the best I've felt in a long, long time with the F1 game. Which is funny considering I had a massive break and despised it once we went to Mexico.
Mm.
No, the conditions were fine. It was more so just some over the limit maneuvers, I'd say. It just cost me so much time as the leader. Possibly could have caught up if that didn't happen, but yeah, it is what it is, and I'm still happy with P2 at the end of the day.
Yeah, you did have we did have a bit of a blackout. So there was a point where you were behind Aria, and then when we came back, I believe you were just about making the overtake on him. But
Yeah.
it was there was a bit of a moment there. Obviously, you and Joe as well at the start of the race. Anyway, you two were pretty much racing each other's gearbox the entirety of that time until the first safety car came out, or until the rain came out, pretty much. And yeah, that was yeah. There was a bit of a kerfuffle with Cameron getting out as well, and then the rain as well. But you did drive it. There was a really solid drive. There was a glimmer of hope as well. We saw at the end where you were starting to chew away at Joe's time, but it was just a little bit inevitable that
Yeah, it was just the battery I
Yeah.
didn't have any energy left. All of it was expended trying to pass Aria, who was a rocket in a straight line, and then as I say, I'm having to restrain myself because I don't know if I sound it, but I don't appreciate being pushed onto grass or being smashed into the side of that. That's not racing in my eyes. So I'll be seeing the stewards and see what they say.
Yeah, I think we had Mad Dog just before sort of commenting on how close the racing was today, but he was more in a spectator seat than you. But yeah, you do sound frustrated, but I think at the end of the day, P2, it's not a drop round, surely, going in it forwards. What was your reaction to Cameron in the rain, just ending up crashing out into that wall close to corner 2?
I fully did not expect that, and it actually made me jump a bit. Mostly because I was, I believe, 1.5 seconds behind, give or take, something like that. But no, we communicate with each other in Team Chat 1 with a lot of other drivers there. We just vibe and chill. And the game plan was to just kind of slowly creep around until it got too bad and, just see what happens. From my perspective, it looked like he just overdid the throttle on the curb. Whether that's because the curb was slippy and wet or because that curb is sectioned into two things. You can take how do I put it? You can take the part of the curb which is closest to the actual track surface, but if you tried straddling the outer part near the gravel, you're going straight off. You will just immediately spin because the car will just bottom out and that's it. Your race is done. You'll be in the wall. But no, that seriously caught me off guard. Mostly because I was on the same tyres, kind of same situation. So after that, I was really careful, assessed the conditions, and was like, "Yeah, this is going to go into us very, very soon. I'm not going to risk it."
Yeah, I was a bit surprised to see that how long you guys were actually keeping out on track before you did pit. Baby Aggie did come in the lap before, and obviously the safety car that Cameron caused as well did work into people's favour as well.
Yeah.
But it did seem a bit of I think RW Dragon put it quite well that it was a bit of a Lance Stroll situation. See how well you go until you spin, and yeah, it just looked like it wasn't going to clear up. It did dry up a little bit at the end.
Yeah,
and there was.
I think it was just the crossover point.
Yeah,
seeing which tires were better. For anyone who was on softs, they would have been rockets around there. Joe being on mediums, I think that was very helpful for his race as well. But the hard to be in C1 compound is going to be super slippy and tricky, which yeah, it is just unfortunate for a friend to end up DNF like that.
That said, obviously there are drop rounds, and he did also collect up a victory in the previous race, so all is not lost yet. Obviously, likewise for you as well. Confident going into the next race. How are you feeling about Interlagos? Obviously, it is a sprint weekend as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it slightly. Right now, my mind is just I need to calm down after today's race. Technically, I'm on reading week officially, so I've got some time. I don't have all the time in the world as I'm starting a new job, and I do need to go back I need to go back home on Tuesday. But whenever I've got the time to practice, I'll give it a crack, and I'll look back at this weekend, see what went well, see what didn't in the practice schedule, and improve on it from there. Because this definitely felt the closest I was going to ever get to the front guys and winning. So hopefully we can build upon this momentum. Yeah,
always a good start to the season, a good haul of points, and definitely a front runner in this championship. And we look forward to seeing how you get on with the remainder of it, for that matter.
Thank you, appreciate it, guys. Cheers.
Bye now. And lastly. And last but not least, we have Joe Beck is our race winner. Kept himself quite clean throughout that scrap with Geek, and also now kept himself very clean throughout the wet. Really enjoying those wet conditions and pulling out quite a monstrous lead at the end of those last few laps. Really, excuse me, I haven't had a drink in a while. And my voice is going. And really putting off something what I'd reminisce to Verstappen 22, where he chucked on those intermediate tyres when it was starting to rain and just rocketed off into the distance. But now, time to bring in our race winner and also leader of the championship, I believe, unless anything gets taken away. Joe. Hello.
Good evening.
P1, mate. Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations, mate.
Yeah, it's gone all right.
All right.
I think yeah. Well, I was about to say pretty much exact same thing. All right is an understatement. It seemed to be a quite elementary win after the rain started to come down. Cameron, of course, had the spin. We just had a chat with Geek about that. But take us through just the end of that race. I mean, Aria was challenging after the safety car, so it got a little bit tough there, but he still managed to get ahead and just sort of pull out a lead.
Yeah. I knew I was faster than Aria. He was being a bit interesting, especially on the safety car restart where he was pulling up to my side and bumping my car, which was a bit interesting. But it was fine. I managed to get back past. I had more pace, I think, in the wet. And then after that, it was kind of just managing, especially when it became a bit dry. It was quite important not to burn out the inter, otherwise you'd drop off massively. So I was kind of losing a bit to Geek, but that's just because I was not hammering it full welly. I'm just kind of chilling a bit, allowing the tyres to kind of not die.
Yeah, it did look like for a moment maybe Geek could have pushed a bit harder on those dying laps of the race and had a bit of a last-minute scrap for the race win, but it seemed to be that you were quite composed and quite confident in yourself that you were going to be winning that race. All that said, though, you did have a bit of a scrap with Geek. You two obviously quite familiar with each other on track as well. Trying to keep things maybe a little bit cleaner now, given your history. But it looks like to have gone quite well with obviously how Cameron turned out or in the barrier for that matter. That's how he turned out. So it is always a great sight to see you on the top step of the podium, and there is a good haul of points and putting you into the lead of the championship so far.
Yeah, no, I was pretty lucky that Cameron span out. It was a bit of a mystery when the rain started coming, because I got kind of lucky with that first safety car. I was extending anyway, the hard stint, to go for the Inter, because it was about a few laps out. So I thought maybe I can extend this hard to the Inter or just go for a big overcut. In the end, someone crashed, and that tends to happen when the tyres start dropping off. People kind of are more likely to bin it. So I got lucky, and I got a free pit stop into P1 for the safety car restart. Was it P2? I can't remember. No, it was P1. And Cam binned it, which was unfortunate. He was the fastest today, as he normally is. He kind of made quick work out of all of us after his earlier expedition in the race. But I was with Geek with quite a lot of it, which was calm. He was he was quite quick. I don't know, because he was on the medium, so he was a step softer. So I'm not sure how it would have panned out a bit later. But I had some good battles with him. I think all of it was very fair, very reasonable. Nice clean battle. So yeah, it was a pretty chill race, but also a little bit of luck in there.
Yeah, it did seem that every safety car that came out did kind of go into your favour. The first one going out pretty much when you're at the end of your hard's life, of the hard tyres lifespan. But then obviously with the rain coming out and the second safety car being called out, you also had a free pit stop there as well, obviously with everyone else pitting at the same time. It did seem like the right call. You did seem quite confident in the rain as well. You pulled out quite a good lead, and that lead did stay with you for quite some time, obviously with Geek and Aria kind of battling out a little bit, just towards that latter quarter of the race as well. So, you see that Geek and Aria battling out. You see that and think, well, maybe if they start working together, or you were quite confident that those two were just going to be fighting it out until one of them like crashed out or something?
There's only so much you can help each other out in the wet. In the DRS, you can a little bit, but not really much around Zandvoort. So I kind of knew that Geek was going to be lower on battery, because they were switching positions quite a lot. So they were going at it by the looks of it. So I was like, I'm just going to keep my battery topped up, and if Geek manages to kind of surge near me, I can just use my battery to keep me ahead in the straights, because I had probably a massive battery delta. And I spoke to him afterwards, and it sounded like he was pretty dead on the battery. So even if he managed to get close, I had that to play with, thankfully. So yeah. I felt confident in the wet. The wet was good. I managed to pull a gap as soon as I wasn't being dive bombed. So yeah.
We've got Interlagos and a sprint weekend next up. What are your sort of your thoughts going into that, with the sprint essentially being another sort of a qualifying race, as opposed to just the usual 80-minute qualifying going into the standard race?
Yeah, I think it might help me a little bit, depending on the amount of chaos, but Cameron's fastest in quali and race trim, and I think today I was maybe a little bit further back in quali. I made a couple of mistakes, but then I kind of showed that I was probably the second fastest in race pace this race. I managed to kind of keep up with all the medium guys on the hard, so I think that might help me a bit, but then Brazil's quite an interesting track, so we'll see how that goes. I've not really driven it in ages, so I know Cameron will be good at it. I think Geek's notoriously been pretty decent at it, and I don't know about Wooly. And I think Dash is back, and Dash is quite good around Brazil, so there's a lot of good drivers coming into Brazil, so it should be a competitive race. Maybe a bit more rain again. That'd be nice.
Yeah, Interlagos is kind of known for it. Obviously, as the name states, between two lakes, and obviously being pretty much on the Brazilian coast as well, you've got quite a lot of rain. So it will always be a good track to go to. Obviously, some good overtaking opportunities, turn 1 as well, especially into that braking zone there, turn 4 as well. You've got quite a lot of DRS opportunities to work with. It's quite a fast and flowing track. So hopefully a little bit more action this time round than, well, Zandvoort seemed to be a little bit more crashes than overtakes. As we saw from that middle pack. But that said, it does lend itself to some rather interesting maneuvers into turn 1, especially with that long DRS straight as well. So there will be a couple of trains forming here and there. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, any final words, RW Dragon?
I was just going to close it out as well, Joe. P3 to glory today. You said qualifying didn't go great, but I think the race, you held your nerve. It seemed to be just about consistency today for you. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think Geek was also very consistent, but out of kind of those running in the front, I made close to the least mistakes. I made one mistake on exit of, I don't even know what number it is, just before Sector 3, but I saw Cameron go off the monorail curb a couple of times, and he even lit his own rears up, and that resulted in his DNF in the end. So just keeping it consistent was a part of, today's, I guess, success. So yeah, composure and keeping it consistent seemed to help me not die.
Well, congratulations, Joe. Big win today. That is Joe, our championship leader. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Well, an interesting race, a roller coaster for a lot of our drivers today. But Zandvoort is signed off for this split in round 2. Joe running out our winner. I mean, they're very entertaining for my first foray into casting the good old F1 sim racing. And it's been a joy. I think it was so much entertainment coming out from the drivers. It might have been elbow to elbow, and elbows out racing from a lot of drivers, but the entertainment factor was here in Zandvoort and here for our race today.
Yeah, definitely. It was quite a show from everyone that they all put on. They really did show themselves up to be something really did show themselves to be a force to be reckoned with. Cameron so obviously getting a little bit touch and go. Maybe a couple too many incidents happened, but he is still quite consistent and looking like a very strong contender for the championship. Obviously Joe as well, always up there, especially in the wet conditions. It seems to be really well. But obviously we have ourselves Interlagos, Miami, Monaco will be interesting. God help everyone that will be streaming that. And Abu Dhabi, Qatar, and Suzuka to end out the championship. Suzuka was always a driver favourite for that. But yeah, that will be the championship round for you. That is round 2 of the BUSR F1 Winter Championship. It has been an absolute pleasure to be back here after being out for a few months. And obviously RW Dragon, a very good first race to be back here. A bit of a trial by fire, a little bit.
Absolutely. Trial by rain, mostly.
It does happen that way. My first race was a sprint in Mexico, and it was carnage, pure and utter carnage as well. That just happens, really. I feel like it is a bit of a commentator's curse. Oh, somebody's first race, let's just run straight into the back of somebody, just because why not? But it does lead to some fun moments indeed. But yeah, that is it for me. My name is Alex.
My name is RW Dragon.
And we'll see you guys next week. Bye now.
Bye.
history where I could stand and say, arithmetic begins here, now. Rainbow Road.